Hello and welcome to the world of the spirit consciousness. This is the continuation of the book study session on the astral body and other astral phenomena, which has been authored by A.E. Powell. We are now beginning the eighth module, which deals with largely chapter 9, and it covers astral life when the physical body is asleep. In this particular subsection, we will be discussing about what sleep is and the astral body when the physical body is asleep. So this subsection itself is subdivided for your better understanding. We'll be looking at understanding of sleep and tiredness, the astral body when the physical body is asleep, service in the astral plane. This will be coming in the next section. Astral travel, awakening in the astral plane, sleepwalking, and trance as a special condition of sleep. So in this particular video, we will be discussing understanding sleep and tiredness and the astral body when the physical body is asleep. Service in the astral plane, astral travel, awakening in the astral plane, sleepwalking, and trance. These subjects would be discussed in the next video. So coming to the first part, understanding sleep and tiredness. So it appears that the real reason why we need sleep is that different vehicles get tired of each other. So in the physical body, every muscular activity as well as every thought and emotion causes some small chemical changes. A healthy individual is consistently trying to prevent the changes but can't do it completely when the body is awake. So there is a slight indistinguishable loss with every thought, emotion, and activity. The added up impact of loss takes place, and hence it gradually becomes too tired to think or act further. Sometimes the physical elemental helps people to get enough rest with only some moments of sleep. Now we shall see how exhaustion, can be emotional or mental. So emotional tiredness, the astral body gets tired very quickly due to the intense activity of having to move matter to the physical brain. It needs a significant duration of separation so that it can be strong enough to resume the tiresome task. It does not get tired on its own plane and has been recorded to work tirelessly for 25 years without any sign of fatigue. In the normal life, a person feels tired when a strong emotion continues for too long. But this exhaustion only takes place on the physical body, which helps in expressing or experiencing the emotions, not the astral plane. And the same goes for the mental body. The mental tiredness we refer to is actually an inaccurate term. It is the brain which is tired and not the mind. Mental tiredness does not exist. So having understood what sleep and tiredness is about, let us see what the astral body is like when the physical body is asleep. So this sub part is again subdivided for your better understanding. We will be looking at the general observations, how it is for a very primitive individual, for a relatively developed individual, an individual at a still higher stage of development, and a highly developed individual. So we will be discussing some general observations on the astral body when the physical body is asleep and how it varies for each of these different kinds of individuals. Coming to the general observations, we'll be covering the temporary astral body and sleep, the importance of the place of sleep, how the person is active in the real astral body. We'll understand what we mean by that when we come to it, and the shape and appearance of the astral body. Coming to the first subpart. So, while sleeping or in death, when the person exits the body, the astral matter of the environment pushes away other astral matter to fill the gap of the missing astral matter. This happens due to the gravity in the astral plane. The temporary astral matter is arranged in such a way is that it closely resembles the physical body. However, it is not related to the latter and in any way cannot be utilized as an instrument. It is simply an unintentional coming together of particles which are gathered from any type of astral matter which is readily available. Note over here, this is gathered from any type of astral matter which is readily available, and hence astral matter in the place of sleep is very important. So, a greater discussion on the importance of the place of sleep. So, upon the arrival of the real astral body, it displaces the other astral particles with ease. That's why it is very important to be careful about where a person sleeps, because if the environment is negative, the negative astral particles will fill the physical body in absence of the astral body, and when the actual astral body returns, these particles will leave a trace of negative influences which will have a bad impact on the real person. Now we will see what we have seen over here is that there is an actual astral body, and then there is a temporary astral body that fills the space. But now we will see that it is a real astral body, that the vehicle that is active when the person is in sleep. So when an individual falls asleep, the dense physical body and the etheric body remain on the bed. So while the astral body leaves it, hovering above it. Hence, a person utilizes their astral body rather than the physical body in sleep. It can be said only the physical body is asleep and not the person. The astral body generally maintains a physical body shape when it leaves the latter. Thus, the person can be easily identified by those who know him or her on the physical plane. So coming to the shape and appearance of the astral body generally maintains the physical body's shape because throughout the physical life there is an attraction between the physical and the astral particles. The impulse continues out of habit even when the astral body leaves the asleep physical body. Due to this, a sleeping person's astral body contains a very central area which corresponds to the physical body and is comparatively very dense. And it also has a comparatively rarer surrounding aura. So I'll just explain this. So in the initial modules we had discussed, so supposing this is the astral matter of a person, but when there is a person along with it, let's say this is the person, because of the strong affinity of the astral matter and the physical, all the 99% of the astral matter coalesces to the shape within the physical body, and about 1% stays outside. So here the shape may remain oval depending on the stage of development of the person. And therefore, because of this shape that it has retained and is habituated to through the physical life, when the person is asleep, this shape of most of the astral matter holding the shape of the physical body with a slight aura is retained, and this is what typically steps out of the physical body and is maintains that structure. So coming to so we finished the general observations. Now we'll move to how the astral body is when the physical body is asleep for different individuals at different stages of development. Let's look how it is for a very primitive individual. So we'll be looking at the form and basic properties. It's almost the person is almost unconscious in sleep, specifically how the higher principles are asleep and sees dreams but occasionally garbled. So the form and basic properties. So such a person is almost as asleep in the astral body as in the physical body because the former doesn't have a distinctive consciousness. She or he can't hover too far from the physical sleeping body, and if that happens, they'd possibly wake up terrified in the physical body. His or her astral body floats like a shapeless heap of mist, which is somewhat ovoid shaped with vague and irregular outline. The inner part is also misshapen and hazy, but can always be identified. How the person is almost unconscious in sleep. Let's see that an undeveloped person uses the astral body throughout the waking consciousness and sends impulses from the mind to the physical body through the astral body. However, when the physical body is inactive while sleeping, the astral body does not receive impressions or expresses himself or herself. And since it is haphazardly formed and not advanced enough to interact with the surroundings. So hence the person is almost unconscious when asleep. So specifically what we must realize it is the higher principles which are asleep. So the astral centers or the of the feelings may be impacted by the nearby thought forms, but a response will be given only to the lower types of prompts. So it means to say that the astral centers of feelings, which are still not chakras, because it is still not developed. So they are centers of feelings, and it may be impacted by the nearby thought forms which are around it. But the response will be given only to the lower types of prompts. That's because the higher principles are asleep. So even here, the overall impact given to an observer would be that of haziness and sleepiness. So the astral body cannot act in a specific way and hence floats aimlessly over the sleeping physical body. Such an undeveloped person hence has the higher principles as asleep as the physical body. So they may see some dreams which are occasionally garbled. So occasionally the astral body is not as sluggish and floats about on the many astral currents. Sometimes it identifies people in an alike condition and has all types of good and bad experiences. This memory is very much confused, and a garbled impression of the actual experience makes the person think it was an extraordinary dream. So we've seen how the astral body is when the physical body is asleep. We'll now for a primitive individual. Now we will see how it is for a relatively developed individual. So here the form is better defined. The astral body thinks but remains unaware and sees occasionally vivid dreams. So let us dive into each of them. So a more advanced person is a major contrast to the primitive individual. The internal form of the astral body is a lot more clear and well defined. It bears a very close resemblance to the person's physical body. Rather than a hazy cloud near it, the ovoid form is extremely well defined and it keeps its shape. This form is not influenced by any of the several astral vibrations which always float around it on the astral plane. So the astral body thinks but remains unaware. So let's see what it means over here. This kind of person's astral body actively thinks and is not unconscious like we've seen in the very primitive individual. However, she or he is hardly any more aware of the surroundings than the primitive person. This is because while the more evolved person is capable of seeing it, he or she is still very self centered in his or her thoughts. He or she will be able to see if such person so desires. This type of person continues the day's thoughts in sleep, and this creates a thick wall around himself or herself, which disables him or her from seeing anything outside the wall. So if I have to give it by an illustration, so let's consider this as the person. So through the day, it is thinking many things, and all these thoughts are hanging around the person, literally forming a wall. So I have expressed it like this. Hence, when the person is in sleep, the astral body over here, the consciousness is over here. So he or she can see but cannot see beyond this because the person is very self centered in his or her thoughts. There may be some occasional vivid dreams, so sometimes a powerful impact from outside or his or her powerful desire can tear this mist wall that surrounds the person. This may allow him or her to experience some well defined impression, yet the fog would start gathering spontaneously and the person would keep dreaming as unconcerned as earlier. So, having seen how it is for a relatively developed individual, now we will see how it will be for an individual at a still higher stage of development. So, in a much more advanced person, when the physical body falls asleep, the astral body sneaks out of it, and the person is then completely conscious. This person's astral body is arranged clearly and is well outlined and looks very similar to the person. The individual can utilize this astral body as a much more effective medium than the physical body. The body's power to respond rises till it can immediately respond to all sorts of astral vibrations, fine or coarse. However, a highly developed person's astral body would have negligible particles able to respond to the coarse vibrations. So a highly developed person is much more active and awake in the astral body as compared to the physical body and can understand much better on this plane. Also, she or he can move more easily and quickly any length of distance without causing any interference to the sleeping physical body. The individual may encounter incarnate or discarnate friends and discuss ideas with them, these friends being at the same level of astral awakening. She or he may also meet people who are much more advanced than him or her and get sound advice or warning. She or he may be able to help those who are not as evolved as him or her. She or he may get in touch with all sorts of non human beings These kind of entities will be discussed in the module covering astral entities. She or he will experience various astral influences, good, bad, scary, or those helping him or her in getting stronger. She may also make friends from different parts of their world. She may listen to or give lectures. If the individual is a student, he or she can find solutions to problems from physical life because the astral life gives additional powers. For instance, if the person is a physician, she or he may attend to cases she or he is interested in while asleep. Such person may get new information from the astral plane, which will come as an intuition in the awakened physical consciousness. So, coming to the last section of this particular video, how the astral body is when the physical body is asleep. So, a highly evolved individual has a deeply organized and vitalized astral body and is active on the astral plane as the physical body is active on the physical plane. It is a considerable extent of achievement to be able to gain complete consciousness in the astral body. So, when a person has filled the gap between the physical and the astral consciousness, she or he lives an uninterrupted, continuous life. Day and night don't exist for him or her as such anymore. For a person like that, even death, as we know, doesn't exist, since she or he carries this undisturbed consciousness through the portals of death too. So it continues till the end of his or her life on the astral plane, as will be discussed in a later module discussing the after death life. So with this we have discussed how the astral body is when the physical body is asleep. The next topic will be the service in the astral plane, which is continued in the next video. Stay tuned.